liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order with everyone present. First item on the agenda this morning, Michael Cuny, County Engineer. Action on vacation roads 938, 1271, 1561, and some other road matters.
Got my in here before a little bit later than normal. So bridge inspection is done. The bridge inspection class is done in the past. I have looked at how to use that, and the idea here will be to perhaps look into inspecting the culvert, the box culverts that are in good conditions throughout the county. Save us consulting fees. So that's the avenue that I'm gonna head down on that. Boundary research for Happy Hollow Road. I have not sent out the notifications yet, so that'll be coming up this week. So staff, we're still working with the GIS department. We're gonna incorporate some of the sim stuff with the bridges into this GIS. So that's kind of all the bridge stuff is working together here. Summer engineering interns, they have accepted. I filled out some paperwork for them. Haven't heard their exact days yet. The private easement, quit claim deed, and everything here. I have all the updated paperwork that Andy and Mike Shimmick have worked on over the weekend. The resolution for a permanent easement is the only thing that needs to get voted on today, is my understanding.
That bridge abandonment.
Bridge abandonment.
Okay, thank you.
So, sorry, by Middle Hesper, off Middle Hesper there. That's the action on vacation of roads. That's that line item. So I have that paperwork if you want to read the official stuff here.
Don't we have an action for vacating the road as well, or vacating it, and then an action granting the easement?
Correct.
Two actions.
Correct.
I think that when I talked to Mike Shimmick a little bit ago, he said, we'll just go ahead and act on it all day. He'll hold it to record it until after they've signed their other paperwork.
Yes. The latest on that was about a couple minutes ago was that there was, I think, 2 people going to come in today or tomorrow, and then someone later this week. So I'm losing track of all the
Yeah,
names.
there's a lot of names, but yeah.
But yes, so there's 3 signatures we need, and then we can go to recording, and then it should be a done deal.
We need that done in separate motions.
I think you can do them, but they're both resolutions.
Yeah. We only have paperwork for the wall.
I have a vacation one. I think this is the most recent one. And then you should probably
I'm
have
an easement, and then I have the here's the vacation.
Okay, yep. Then you have both. So we'll use yours because one of those are the most recent.
This is the most, this is what he gave me today, so.
And we're okay voting and acting on that, even though they're still working out who owns that land off of Locust.
I don't think there's any question about who owns it. It's all of the parties have to sign the easement agreement.
Or Signaler's gonna transfer to Stacy, or Stacy's gonna transfer to.
An easement, yes.
Yes,
Yeah, and that's all agreed on. They just got to get all the signatures.
Okay.
yep.
On motion on. Make a motion to vacate the roads. previously mentioned.
And grant the easement.
And grant the
And grant the easement.
I don't know.
The motion is second for the vacation roads 938, 1271, and 1561, and the easement agreement. Is there any further discussion?
Just,
It is a resolution.
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I also have an aye. Here's unanimous.
So then you had asked me to look at the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Middle Hesper
Yeah.
Road. Talked to a couple of county engineers and we need a speed study on it. If we're gonna change it
I'll take that.
for, yeah. If you want me to do that, I can look into how to get that done. Just let me know, because with the speed, do that when you want it changed.
Yeah. North, or then, where, what is it?
My understanding of how it happened is there was a lot of query traffic causing a lot of dust, and then that, none
They
of that,
didn't put it the whole road.
They-
did.
right.
It's the other one.
This is the easement, and then this is the quick claim deed.
Okay, let's get all those signed while we've got.
This doesn't need to be signed by Dan. This is just a private, and I think that does private too, but. So just let me know on that.
Yeah.
If you want me to do the,
What's that cost for DOT?
it's free for the DOT, but you have to, it's a year out. Or we can do it within the county. I think it's just it's very prescriptive, on how to do that.
Is it a buried cable or is it obvious?
I think I can do it some of the engineering interns sometime this summer if needed. But I'd have to read it in more depth. I just kind of browsed over it. It looked pretty straightforward.
If I drove that section we were talking about, and it does seem weird to go 25 on
Yeah.
that road.
I think in the past, the staff has done the speed study and then you write up a page to get filed with
Yeah.
the resolution that says, here's the results.
Right. I haven't ever done one before, so I don't know who's done it. I just kind of looked at the stuff that.
I would
Nick
say
had sent me.
I would recommend go ahead and do a study on the
Yeah.
Middle Hesper Road, and then leave the lower part of the other, that one can stay.
Should I just get with you on which parts we should start deciding?
Yeah,
Because that's,
what comes up through there and then it turns into middle.
Jeff knows what section.
yeah, we all know, I think we all kind of have a sense as to what we want, but I want to kind of make sure that I,
After the meeting. maybe
After the meeting,
when you're in the
yeah.
engineer's office.
Yeah.
use me in the engineer's office, or I can come talk to you
Yeah,
sometime
I
this
can
week.
I can just do, I'll be going next week, so.
Oh, you'll be gone next week, okay. Or I can swing. I guess, Mark, you're the person I should talk to about all this.
Yeah, it does.
It's his district.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I'll just stop over at.
Okay, because
Take a minute.
I'm just kind of coming back from the 2 weeks, so I'm not exactly prepared for everything on that.
Or we can just wait, let's just wait till after the holiday. Memorial Day, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it
I'm in no hurry.
ain't no life or death, you got enough going on.
Right.
We'll just wait till after.
Then you might
Memorial
have
Day.
interns by then too, so.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll just wait till after.
Okay,
Yeah, that'll be a lot easier.
thank you.
Yeah, you got enough going on. It ain't nothing serious, so.
We have to, I say that we have to protect county interest in utilities from Mullers Drive, 170th Avenue. We are keeping 33 feet from the center line, which was kind of directed to us from the board. It just, we're a little bit tight on the utilities. We got a deep sanitary line, things like that. So any of the papers that we have, we'll want to make sure that we might put some easements in or some kind of verbiage to make sure that we protect those utilities. We want to be aware of that. The situation there. I heard last week the good news that we sold the property for the amount that we did. That was welcome news in my mind. The 410s that started last week. Ring Rock we started doing our road routes. Evidently there were some calls in about some of the roads, I think that you talked about.
Town line was, I had one there and then, up on top of the hill. up there.
Just wanted to inform you that all those are expected to contract rock. And
Oh, okay.
So we're not gonna do
Yeah, okay,
extra.
that's-
So the
yeah.
contract rock, they were slated to get that anyway, so.
Okay,
That should be.
yeah, no, that's, yeah, they just had a couple calls on them, so. I thought-
Yeah, I heard about the calls, we kind of talked it out, and I said, I don't really want, trying to really keep that budget, because
Yeah, no, that's,
this next line item here is what I wanted, the reason why I got an email Friday from the DOT. $618,000 plus, prior to the June 2024 letting. I have, a previous resolution that the board had passed printed out here. It's just, the resolution that the board made so that, we transferred funds to the farm to market. And I would expect something similar, for us on this project, and, I will work with Nikki from the DOT to get the timing on that done. So it works for them.
What day is that wedding? In June, you know?
June, I want to say it's 15, but don't quote me on that. It's middle,
So they have about a month to figure out how they're gonna come up with the money,
yeah,
how they wanna split it.
and that money has, yes, that money has to be in there before it's let, and so I would say
Maybe even.
less than a month, yeah, I would say 3 weeks.
Okay.
So. Yes. And as far as that's concerned, that is all I have from catching up this Monday.
we had a good guy call on Dry Run Road, just outside where Bolton's built.
Okay,
There's white flags, like 4 white flags on both sides of the gravel right up by the highway. They're just plain white flags. It's probably 8 feet.
My Energy is using white flags for their stuff.
Oh, maybe that.
I don't
We
remember,
usually don't use flags.
not us, no.
No, they're on both sides of the road. They go from the highway just down to the first driveway.
I don't remember a permit going there. Some,
Yeah.
I could be mistaken.
50 feet apart.
I don't remember seeing a permit. I don't know who that is. And it might just be somebody's private one call type of thing too.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I use.
At that 6 county meeting last week, and you'll be expecting some templates for driveway.
Yes, that's something that escaped my mind on the report. We're trying to coordinate a driveway policy. What's happened is bigger farm equipment and more driveway accesses are creating a higher funding requirement by the county to provide for private culverts. We provided for them in the past. We're not gonna expect citizens to foot some of that bill. It's kind of,
Do you have a chance to catch up with any of the other engineers?
I did talk to Nick a little bit about it, yes, and so.
It's a good meeting.
Yeah, I mean, this has been in the works for, I'll say, 3 months now, so. I'm mostly just watching all of them say what they want and then coordinating, so.
Sure. Because we also discussed dust control, some of the detour roads, stuff like that. It's kind of a good discussion on that part of it too.
That was not brought up to me, so, if you have anything, you can tell me about that one.
We'll have some concern over when we do the section of W14 between Spillville and Ridgeway, because they do a cut around by the little cemetery, little church right there off of W14 background parallel down, where it jumps in and catches the hard road going into 28. I forget what road number 170. Can't really recall, but there was some major dust concerns at one Century Farm down there even last year because the road's gotten so rough that they're just making it now the automatic path. And that's probably where we'll have to detour some of that. So I'm sure that issue will come up again.
Okay.
And also when we do Bridge 5, I know 155th Avenue is gonna take a beating because we're gonna come out of Castelia. They're gonna go that extra mile out of Castelia on the highway and then shoot straight north. So I don't know if those are roads where you might have to put a little extra rock or what we're gonna do. And hopefully
That would be a very appropriate use of spot rock.
light
yes.
rain every now and then, like we've been having, would really help with the dust part on there too. But there are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses on that stretch.
On which one?
155th
Okay.
Avenue.
Some of them had different policies too about the landowner would pay half on certain, part, depending on the intensity of the
Upon their
traffic.
request in a situation
request,
where it's being used as a detour.
I think that part of the issue's been in the past is what we officially mark as the detour isn't the detour they take. And so,
And that's the case with the 155th.
so I don't know. In the past, you haven't done any dust control on them.
We just did, the one off the Madison, because the cement trucks were using it that time too. That was what, 235th or whatever. We only had one, I think Larson's were on there that, but the cement trucks were using it because that cut out 30-mile detour for them. So it just made the project go faster.
I think there was consensus around the table.
Yeah, that we did, because that one was,
If it was construction.
I mean, had the
Yes.
cement trucks not been using it, then
So I was just bringing that up because that's something that probably is gonna come up once Brian starts on that.
Yes. Yep. No, thanks for making me aware. And W14 as well. Thank you, Steve. Anything else for me?
Something Nick brought up, when I talked to him too, they invested in an electronic traffic counter that it's buried in the road. And so they can vary the sensors in the road and then randomly move it around to get traffic counts, but also not just numbers of cars, but time of day. With that, so rather than using the DOT's numbers to be more accurate. Yeah, on the spot figure of like, well, what is the traffic count on
Well,
this
I
road?
thought the interesting part was that he went ahead and did this prior to any road work being done and using it as a detour. So he had the up-to-date numbers.
What was the
and what was being used. So when they come complaining, he says, oh, no, here's the numbers I just took. And now these are the numbers of what's going on. So it's not as bad as what you're thinking.
And he also did it underneath so that people didn't go back and forth over it a number of times to inflate the numbers.
Right.
you can't see it. They
Right.
don't know it's.
I think it's a great tool and an investment because we have so many people coming in and say, well, ours is the most traveled road.
Yes.
As you've seen from numbers, that's so the case.
Correct.
You might check with him about the price on that.
He didn't seem to, they've had it for a while, but he didn't seem to think it was all expensive.
Like $500 he thought back then.
Yeah.
It was pretty inexpensive.
I don't know if they bury them, they're just a sensor alongside.
I think conservation uses a similar one for the trail counting, and it's just a hidden sensor.
Yeah.
So I might check. Nick is the one that brought that up and uses those.
I will talk to him about that.
Yeah, that is good to do it when I don't know.
Yeah. That was a real interesting part. Seemed a little sneaky.
Oh, it's only
No, you need-
5% increase.
The numbers aren't gonna lie.
You gotta have a base data amount. And one on the dust control, I didn't find out last year that there is a remedy that people can use of contacting DNR for a health study if there's too much dust. And that came out of, I got a call from one of the people that lived down on that road. And they had me sit on the patio in the afternoon, just join with them as the dust clouds came rolling in. So it was,
Yeah.
it was pretty,
Yeah, the DNR's got to determine if it's a
Yeah,
health
DNR.
hazard or not, when they do a dust study, yeah. But the individual has to contact them to do that. County doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. That's one way to do it. I mean, yeah, That probably takes a little longer.
Sure of that.
They want to do it this year for next year. That's,
That's probably how it's gonna have to work.
yeah. So I think it's gonna be short. It's easy.
Right.
So when do you guys wanna put this possible transfer of funds to the farmer market on the agenda?
I will do it next week.
Mark's not here.
I'm gonna be next, I'm gone.
How about the week after
Yeah,
that?
so Tuesday after Memorial Day,
Do that?
do that and do it. Yeah.
Ben, can you take us through how that kind of works? Where is this money? And how does this work?
Well, there. Michael has it in his budget. He's put the whole 600,000 in his budget amendment so that we have it in there. It's gonna just come out of road funds, so that means it's affects future projects. I've also put it in the budget amendment out of the general fund. So 300,000 can obviously be the money you got from selling the land in Freeport. The other 300,000 is money we don't have. So unless you have a way to make it up somehow, I would not recommend just taking it out. So if you identify, because we aren't going to have next year, we can't just raise the levy to make up the money because of the restrictions. So if the 300,000 from the sale of the Freeport land was something that wasn't anticipated anyway, so that was something that we can use, but the rest would be money that would come out of your carryover, and we're already spending that down from like 25% to 23%, which is, you don't want to continue that trend.
We're gonna use the sale of money from Freeport, I understood, to be a payment on the spectrum.
Then you
Option.
don't,
That would be I mean, I would say if you're selling real estate, put it back into real estate. That was my theory.
if you don't have a way to find it in the general fund, then you're going to be stuck taking it out of the road fund.
And I prepared my budget accordingly.
Yeah.
So,
So the disadvantage is that you're limited on how much money you can put in the road fund. So any money you take out for this is money you're never getting back in there. So if you can find any in the general fund, that doesn't permanently damage the road fund. But if you don't have it, if you can say, oh, we're gonna, whatever, we're going to use the money from the sale of the land for part of it, or we're gonna get rid of this many employees, we can use that money towards it, or we're gonna until you find a way to find it, you shouldn't just spend it.
So that gives us a couple weeks to go through and see if we can find any. We have it on the agenda, we can discuss this and go from there.
I mean, it will be, even if you do it this year, it'll affect cash flow next year, but if you have within the next 2 years, here's where we're coming up with the money, that's a lot more comfortable for me to say that's okay than just say we're gonna spend it and we'll find it some magically later, then we might just permanently be in a financial situation we can't come out of. So that would be the bad thing about taking it from the general fund, is you need to basically identify it.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Tom Madden, SEH Engineering, Christina Sewer update and pay request. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Does everybody have a copy of the pay request?
No, it's in there, so
We've seen that.
Okay. What I wanted to do two things. One, I want to just take 1 minute and go over the contents of the pay request so that when you guys do see it, you understand what's going on. And then we'll take a minute about the actual pay request and you guys can approve it and we can move on. When I put together a pay request for you, there's always a cover sheet that provides you with an economic status report of where we're at, just in some quick line items, okay? So what it'll have on there is the original contract amount. If there's any change orders, they'll be listed as well. there'll be a line item for how much work has been completed to date. There's a line item on there, like on this particular one, that's got, we call stored materials, meaning the contractor bought products for the project, provided me with receipts for that stuff, and he's got the stuff on site, and he's gonna get paid for it, and that's allowable by the contract. Do we have line items for the retainage that you folks are gonna hold on the project? And then we have a line item for how much is due at this pay request. It's easy to look at it on a single page versus trying to flip through a bunch of stuff that the contractor has. And I think it provides some benefit to you just to get a quick snapshot of where we're at financially. The next important page would be the second page of the contractor's pay request, which looks like this. And what it has on it, this is a lump sum project, meaning that he said he's gonna do the project for X dollars, and that's it. Now, it doesn't do us a lot of good when he asks for money because we don't know what's going on, right? So what I have him do is come up with what we call schedule of values. And what he'll do is he'll look at the project and he'll break it down into 12, 15, 18 major things that if you went onto the site, you could probably see that some of that stuff was done. And then what he'll do is based on those 12 or 18 major things is he'll tell you how far along he is. And that's how much money he wants. And what this sheet does is it breaks it out, and he's got 14 line items. Then it tells you how much he's done to date. So we could go out there and say, okay, treatment system he's got on here. If he says it's 50% done, you and I, we don't have to know anything about wastewater. Should be able to go out there and just take a look at it and say, yeah, it looks like about 50% of work is done. Okay, so that's the way we kind of break it out. And the nice thing about it is there's a line item that says, or a column that says this period. So that means that's what he's requesting this particular time around. So if we look at it right now, there's nothing in here except for 5% of his mobilization. That's what we're paying him for. Plus all the materials he bought for the project. So this sheet I like is because we can look at this period column and we can all talk about the work that was done in the last 30 days. And it's real easy to look at that column and pick it out versus trying to figure out what actually was done by looking at just the bottom line, right? I like this period column because again, we could just look at, okay, he did 20% electrical work, he did 20% that, and we can talk about these things individually. Real easy to go through, okay? So with all that said and done, the pay request for this month is minus all the retainages and stuff like that is $383,271.79. Of that, only about $1,000 is actually work. The other amount is he sent me invoices for all materials that are on site. The way the contract is set up is that if he provides me with invoices, pictures of the things actually being there, and a copy of the insurance policy saying it's all covered, we're gonna pay. And so to that end, I've got a whole bunch of invoices attached to this pay request that equal this amount of money. In addition to that, there's pictures of all the products that he's got for the project that they're not on site, so there's nowhere to store them right now, they're in the shop. And then I've got an insurance copy that says everything's covered. So he's checked every box, and therefore I would pay him for those materials that are stored. Interesting on the timing is that literally right when I was coming into town, Donnie called me up and he said that the sampler that he uses on site right now just took a dump. And he goes, is there any way the contractor can order that and get it for me? It's like, you know what, Donnie? It's in his barn. So we'll get that rolling and get that incorporated in the project right away. Sometimes the time works out really good on stuff.
What about accountability?
Oh, and the thing is, there's a lot of money, it's 300 some $1,000, right? We can't expect them to bankroll buying all this stuff, but if he can prove to us that he actually paid the money, he's got it and it's covered by insurance, we have it basically. Any questions on what I propose to bring you guys as a summary or what he's asking for the payment?
No.
Looks pretty detailed.
Okay. I like
Can you talk about any more on the disadvantaged community funding?
No, so Ben, you have to help me out here. The county's gone through the loan closure process, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the first box. Now, anywhere between now and the end of the project, you may or may not get a letter from the state saying that there's gonna be X dollars loan forgiveness. I don't know anything about the timing. I do know that we have to have closed loan, which is done. And now it could happen anytime. There's no schedule, so I don't know.
Our fingers crossed.
Happen next week.
So it's actually,
Next week would be nice.
we're all good with regards to that they can issue a letter now if they're going to. So it's just a matter of that going through.
Awesome.
It's great.
And I think we should have an action on, I mean, you'll approve the payment as part of the claims, but to act on a pay request itself so that Dan can sign it, so we can submit it for reimbursement.
I so moved to act on the pay request of 300, I don't have the figure in front of me, to JB Holland.
Yeah, 383,271.79.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to make a payment in the amount of $383,271.79, correct?
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
And a quick project update, it looks like the first week in June, since wet weather's pushed it back on another project to get out there, so it looks like the first week in June, they're gonna get out there.
You want Dan to sign that copy, your copy, or should I have him sign this one?
No, he can sign whatever he wants to sign, and then really all you gotta do is get it to, Diane for her stuff. I don't need it back.
You think he signs right there, is that?
There's my glasses on.
Who signed this one? Construction manager.
Well, that's usually if there is, so sometimes bigger projects have a contractor and then a construction manager at risk, I guess we'll call it, an outside company that manages this stuff. And then we have the architects. So normally on a project side, you don't have anybody sign that. And I don't know that he's got to sign anything if it's been moved on and approved. I think that's all Diana needs to know.
Yeah, so it should be taken care of when we approve the consent agenda.
And then when I submit this packet to Ben, I also give it to Diana with Upper Explorer Land at the same time, so she can get rolling on the reimbursement from CDBG right away, so.
So the pay request be coming in monthly, basically.
Should be from now on, yep.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thanks.
Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
John wasn't gonna be able to be here for his agenda time, but he asked me to speak for him briefly. So he just wanted to let you know that the candidate he extended the offer to last week is still considering and hasn't answered yet. And so he was wondering if he can have permission to offer him the senior position up to 6 years experience, which would still fall within the budget, but would be a little bit more money. It's about $3,500 more a year. That might be something that he would then have as a negotiating tool. That helps.
That comes with less vacation time then?
Yeah.
I would be in favor of that.
Yeah,
I talked with John just before the meeting, and he was saying that fellow is probably, look, he thinks it looks very favorable. He has a project that he's been working on, an AI project that he wants to complete, see it through, probably within about a month. And with that, and be free of that to continue, but he didn't see any objections. It looked like it was moving forward and it was positive.
Well, I think so, because you moved last week to offer it at the not senior position up to 12 years.
Move to offer it at the senior position at up to 6 years.
second.
A motion and a second to the job offer for the senior position at 6 years. Any further discussion?
Well, I guess unless the candidate had some objection, I think, but now the cat's out of the bag, so I guess the candidate could have a choice as to whether it's money or
Or
time.
vacation?
But I don't think we need to make any more concession on that, that's for sure.
No, I agree with
I think John agreed too.
The,
That was what was budgeted.
And He was
additional
wanting-
pay out of the total salary, it's not a huge thing, considering they're also gonna be getting a 2.75 raise in a month and a half, so.
Who'd second?
But that would be my thoughts on that.
Okay,
That's-
any other discussion? None, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Is there a lot on the consent?
Minutes and claims.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
The motion is second to approve the consent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. It is 10:05. Next on the agenda, the Pioneer Cemetery Commission.
Good morning. How's everybody today? This should be fairly simple, I think. May is Cemetery Appreciation Month. I think there's one for everyone to at least look at. Hi, Mark. All right. Good. And we've one with Ben. We hope that you guys will sign our nice copy, all of you, and just, I don't know, in recognition of what we're doing with county money, paying attention to pioneer cemeteries, 44 of them in the county.
A lot of volunteers.
Some days more than others. Chris Bells, Stacy Gosling, Deb Teacup, the members of the board that were able to be here this morning.
Thank you all.
We're missing a few. And Stacy, of course, our ad hoc historian and talented with the proclamation.
Very.
Very.
Hey, we do the best we can to stay within
And
our
now
budget and still take
celebrities.
care of the cemeteries the way they need to. So we've done a few fun projects. Actually, that's the picture that's on there. Crawford, is that his name? Yeah. We reset that stone in the Frankville Cemetery. It's a Civil War soldier. Frankville resident did a little bit of research. We reset that. I think it was last summer. Right?
What was the name of the show again that featured Stacy cleaning stones?
Main Streets with Jonathan Gibbons.
So if you have a chance to look that up on YouTube, I don't know what channel we can look it up on PBS. I think.
Wisconsin PBS, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
very cool
really
stuff.
fun to see.
Very, very cool stuff. So, yes, indeed. So we appreciate your time putting us on the agenda. We won't take up very much of your time. I think we're down to 2.5 minutes.
Talk too fast.
I talked too fast.
Yeah.
Do you want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
I could. I mean, come on, this shouldn't be that hard.
We want you to feel hindered.
You want me to feel hindered?
No, we don't. want
Oh,
you to feel
okay. Oh, yeah, well, even if I do feel hindered, I'll probably just keep talking anyway, Steve. So thank you very much for your time.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys,
I move to approve.
thank you.
I'll second that.
the motion is second for the proclamation of Pioneer Cemetery Month. All those in favor, say aye.
Look at that, no arguments.
This is
That's a good way
unanimous.
Good way to start the day.
This is an easy.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate your time. Yep. Good deal.
You don't want our picture or nothing?
I don't know, do you want to, do you have time? If you have time, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we can
take it.
That means you guys are gonna type this available right now. That's right.
Mark, this likes this picture.
Is that okay? Here, I'll assign someone in the front row to do it. You guys can be in the front. Make me look good.
You want us all this way? Sure. Move this way.
Squeeze in between
Yeah,
the two of you, is that what we want to do? You're gonna have to kind of.
We need
we're gonna
to
have
smash up.
Sideways, like that. Do you need to pick that up?
We'll get that.
Okay.
We got the main one.
Right, I was gonna say, Steve and Mark, we can't see your faces. Steve, you have to go to your right. There you go. All right. And I just snap. You should be able to. Yep, I am. So, okay, I've got a bunch of them. Thank you, I appreciate it. You're the best.
3, 2, 1. Take a couple and one more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Maybe stretch your legs a little bit. Don't worry. Don't worry. My animal. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Have to stay for the whole meeting.
Yeah.
All right, 10:10, next on the agenda, office staffing discussion and direction. Ben asked us if we wanted to put this on the agenda just for a conversation.
Yeah, and Shirley asked me to make sure I invited the affected department heads, so I did so, and I think you have a VA commission person.
Chair and
Yeah.
another one.
Since Faith was unable to come, so.
And some of that just comes up because there's gonna be some retirements. Is what I'm understanding. And then whether we wanna refill those positions.
I really would highly recommend we work with the department heads. They know their departments better than we all do. And we need to work in cooperation with our department heads on these decisions. And their boards. Like Board of Health, for instance, the Veterans Commission, for instance. We don't have the information. We need to gather that.
We'll pay to send it out.
I have the job description of the position that's reviewed.
So you want to let everybody here know
Copy
your position, the visitors in the room.
Okay, I'm the chairperson of the Veterans Administration here, the commission here in Dakota. So there's 5 of us veterans on the commission, and then we have an administrator and an assistant administrator. And I'm talking about the assistant administrator position. That Mary is retiring, so good for her. But I have a job description of her particular position. So we like to, Faith sent out something. She's in national training right now. They tend to change the laws quite often for the veterans, and so you really need to be updated every year. I understand that the Iowa Senate is entertaining a bill to provide extra $3,000 a year to be able to have your county veteran service officer be updated on training every year. So that's in the works, and we're hopefully getting it. Right now, the legislator is still allowing us to have $10,000 a year to continue to hopefully buck up our office and also help us outreach to veterans to get them into the office. My main thing is I think it's important that as commissioners, we kind of bring people into the office where they can get what all the state and federal benefits are that they're eligible for. Because as far as the knowledge of all of that, Faith has books and books and books on that. And also keeps it a lot in her head that she can just spew forth. And us as commissioners, well, we know a little bit because of attending the meetings and such, but as far as the Iowa code goes, we're not allowed to be county veteran service officers to be able to do the federal and the state benefits. I understand that they're behind the paperwork, and as far as having claims get out there and be honored, but if you don't have a claim that's all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, they all shove their claim off to another time and just reject it, and then Dave has to go through some more, okay, what's missing, you know? So it's, you have to have a completed form in order to get more, fast, for the claim, to be administered to. And she had put out something, for the commission to say that, as far as, things that come back to the county in compensation and pensions that she's able to get through, spouses of deceased veterans or, independents, that, like in, 2021, it was 4,344,000 that came back into the county residents, you know, to be able to spend in the county, and then it increased, another, another 1,800,000, no, 1,360,000. So the comp and pen for 2022, she didn't have the 23 results because they're behind on that too, but were 5,704,000. That's quite a bit. And I know she mentioned some of the, like the deceased veteran claims for widows. They've been retro backed to, one of them got 132,000, and we'll get a continued 1,600 every month till she passes. And another one was 39,794 retro. You know, so it gets,
That's up.
yeah. And I know she's like a dog with a bone. She, you know, if she gets been rejected, she'll go find out why. So as far as the assistant position, casework would be always interrupted by the telephone. Some of the claims that could be handled by an assistant, because we insist that they get their county veteran service certification also. That could be handled by them, and they know all the ways to dot the i's and cross the t's and get all that paperwork done and completed. Besides handling just veterans or calls that come in. Also be a representative of the office like can face away at training. Or our assistant would be away at training, then one of them could be in the office. We wouldn't have just a closed office. That's why we're fighting for that position.
And the traffic's increased in that office, hasn't it?
Yes, thank you for saying that.
From like what, 4 or something to almost double in the last
Right. I know the
400 and some to 700, so it's almost double.
Mhm, mhm.
This is a full-time position?
And that's what we approved in the budget.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, she said with the workload is doubled with the PACT Act. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but it had a lot more expansion of healthcare. And then also expansion of the toxic exposure risk activity, which allows.
They changed what who can be qualified as a veteran too, didn't they? I think.
Thank you, yes. You're on. I bet you.
Yeah.
Yes, the new law passed in Iowa, changing the definition of a veteran, and that goes into effect July 1st, and it is in cooperation with what the federal definition of veteran, and that allows the veterans to be more eligible and apply for VA state benefits. So like Iowa code right now says you have to be a veteran within a certain war era, and there's lots of dates involved in that. And then the federal is just not as stringent. It allows more veterans to get the benefits.
Yeah.
Increase the numbers more.
Yeah, they'll just.
Yes, and increase your workload too. So we just funnel people into the office, try, and then
They always come up.
that's where all the work happens, you know, so. I think,
So I'm Beth Clement, should be a commissioner. So what I wanted to talk about is who we're talking about. So we're talking about, in this area, we have 5 legions. Fort Atkinson, Spillville, Ashen, Kelmer, Decorah. Okay, we also have 5 outlying ones, which are Winneshiek County residents are members of also. Protivin, Postville, Cresco, Lawler, and Mabel. So it's not just a few little people out there. There's a lot of veterans in the area. They also can choose Winneshiek County, which oftentimes they do because they like coming to Decorah. I mean, their VSO over in Cresco, but you know, they come shopping at Walmart or they come shopping in our county. They like our county, they like Decorah. So they'd rather talk to Faith maybe. The other thing, Faith is a female. And sometimes females would rather visit with a VSO that's a female troops. So we're talking about a lot of people. And the other thing I wanted to point out is you're talking about $5 million a year right now, minimum. That's $340,000 in sales tax revenue. You know, if they're spending it here, which a lot of them probably are. So, and Decorah also has AMVETS and they have, what's the other one? VFW. So, I mean, we're talking about a significant group of people here in the county that need services. And now with the expanded services that VA is offering, it's imperative that we have people that make it accessible. Okay. If you have one person, you're just going to have a little sign up and they're going to have to say, you know, come in the office and put their filled for an appointment and then text her and say, I got this appointment time. I mean, you know, that's not right, especially if they drive significant distance and here they come in to see somebody and they can't. I mean, oftentimes they're asked to do appointments anyway, but there's that intent to file form they can do right there with the assistant and that holds their date. So they don't have to worry about, oh, I can't make it back because I got medical appointments. I can't make it back for 2 months and then they've lost 2 months worth of benefits. So we don't want that to happen. One of the sayings in the military was hurry up and wait. I don't know if you ever heard that. You're ever in line and somebody goes, oh, hurry up and wait. And they'll go, oh yeah, that's what we always said in the service. You've all heard it from a vet. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. The VSO is oftentimes the first contact a veteran has with the VA system after their service. That's where they go first. Because somebody said, go talk to Faith, go talk to Mary. Okay, so that's their first contact. We don't want that to be a negative experience. We don't want them to be discouraged and turn away because they were told you'll have to make an appointment or they're closed because there's only one person. Oh, I didn't know they were closed between 11 and 12 for lunch. You know, we don't want that to happen to our veterans. And we don't want their families to be discouraged. Now, Memorial Day is coming up and they issue flags for the cemeteries. And how would you feel if it was your father, brother, son, and he didn't get a flag because they couldn't find the time to get the flags out to the cemetery committees or the legions or whoever does it. So we don't want to mess with them. We need this position, and actually, I'd like to see 2 positions. You know, I would like to see a position and a half, and I know that's asking a lot, and that isn't going to happen because your budget's right. But think about that in the future, that especially when we're changing laws and we're bringing in more people, we're doing more notifications to veterans. There's a lot of funding there. These veterans deserve it. Let's not screw them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm sitting in the front row because one of the positions that's going to be coming up is in your department.
Yeah.
And I think part of the talk is, for us, is if we end up getting rid of the Smith building, do you need another full-time assistant or a part-time or none at all, or?
Well, I guess it's how much you want the service done, you know. I'm the only one that's pretty much doing the lawns and the weed eating and snow shoveling. You know, something happens to me, what's gonna happen? I'm kicking some ideas around. I like to find somebody that can come in when nobody's around and do something. yeah, I probably wouldn't need a full-time person. You know, but nowadays we're trying to get somebody that's part-time, that's, it's gonna be kind of hard. Or like maybe finding somebody that wants to work and get 2 part-time people instead of 1 full-time. You know, I think we should advertise and see what we come up with. You know. But, yeah, she's leaving at the end of June, and I'm hoping that we can get things moving there. It was a,
I think we should,
Contracting at Spectrum,
We
at the
contract,
Winneshiek County Community Services
Yeah.
Building.
cleaning there. Yeah.
Well, we have contract service there,
I know, what's that costing us per month?
1,800 a month.
Benefits or not, that's just, there's no, that's just the flat fee.
yeah, no idea. So maybe we should look into doing the same here.
Have you had any success with that, John, in the past, using some contract service for cleaning in the courthouse?
no, I haven't. I know Community Action has got service master down there. Cleaning their parts. Look into it, but I think then you gotta, you know, you're leaving stuff open, you know, if you got a person that's hired, you know who you got. You know, not saying that maybe services would be bad, but.
Well, and also if you're gone on vacation, whatever, then there's no one else to even part-time fill in for you, so.
So I'd like to find a full-time or a part-time.
Part-time.
Do you really want to advertise or your own person, the referrals that you've talked to and so forth? What do you think is better for what you're trying to do, Joe?
Still gotta
That's
advertise
good.
it.
We still have to advertise.
Right.
Yeah.
But you've got some folks that you've got kind of in the wings that you're thinking about.
Yeah, I've been reaching out, trying to get some ideas, you know, so. I figured at the end of the month, if we can find somebody like that, efforts and work with her a week or 2 before she quits.
I'd like to see us advertise it. If we're an equal opportunity employer, so we need to advertise.
We have to advertise.
You want to advertise for a part-time or full-time
Well,
with,
Or maybe put both in the ad and see who applies.
Yeah.
You could advertise part or full-time and see what people apply. And
what Nancy does is basically what Joe was, she takes care of the inside, I take care of the outside, you know. No, but we help each other out, but, you know, that's basically what I'm looking for, someone to take care of the insides.
But you're the head of this department. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'd like to have somebody help me inside and outside, you know. Mowing the lawns, you know, now with the rain and everything, last year it wasn't bad at all, so we didn't have any rain, you know, but
It's a different story this year.
yeah, it's a different
You
story.
guys also did the Smith building.
Yeah, yeah.
So now that we have community services building, we're paying 1,800 a month for contract over there. If you hired a full-time, could you not cover that building too?
Well, yeah, I suppose we could, you know.
Because we're gonna be eventually getting rid of the Smith building.
I wouldn't
So it makes
recommend that.
sense.
You've got a well-trained person that knows that building well now.
He does.
But then you're double
Change
paying.
that.
But then we're double paying. If we're gonna get rid of the Smith building, which you already take care of, that removes that amount of work. Doesn't it make sense financially then to take care of the community services building instead?
Not by comparison, when
Right.
you take the cost of that employee for 12 months with IPERS and benefits, vacations and health insurance plus wages, that's a lot more than the 1,800 we spend for.
I think the point is, do we need both another full-time person just so we have the same staff, but also the contract person?
Right.
So
Well, I'm overseeing the maintenance part of DHS, you know, Chuck calls me on what they need now for stuff down there and stuff down there. So there's a lot of things that you don't see. It ain't just cleaning and sweeping and mopping and stuff.
Right.
So there's a, you know,
With snow removal, we contract to have the perimeter done.
not here or,
You do all the sidewalks around the block?
you know, and then we have a contractor to do other approaches down there, but he didn't do it this year. We didn't renew the contract, so
What do we use to clear the sidewalks?
I got a brush on the lawnmower and then the skid loader for the road department comes up there. So
Oh, okay.
I think Lee's point is that maybe you can get by with, if you can find one, a part-time person, since you're paying the contract person at the community services building. I think Shirley's point was if you get a full-time person, do you still need to be doing that?
That would be the point where healthcare benefits are the same, either for paying part-time get healthcare.
no,
At what point do people get healthcare?
30 hours a week.
So,
they get benefits, so like.
You still get ICRIT and FICA, but if you can keep them to 20, that's what our rule of thumb is, 28 hours a week is what we try to keep our part-time people to.
Replace full-time, which is what we have right now. And it can cover the community services building as well. Then we also have replacement for you when you take vacation. It would be an equal. It just makes sense to me to do a full-time and get rid of the contract worker at community services.
Well, budget is my budget for a full-time now, so,
Right.
you know, and I've been staying in my budget ever since I've been here.
And that's what we approved for next year, for fiscal year next year.
What I think we're trying to do is look another step down the road here, because things are gonna get tighter and tighter, and now is the time to make those decisions.
Let's see where we can go with part-time, see where we
Yeah,
get.
see what we can get her.
Let's see what we can get. You know,
I'd advertise it both ways, just to save
Yeah.
your advertising time and cost and see what you get for applications. I think part of the Smith Building discussion is, I don't know how long it'll take for you to figure out what's going on with public health and getting it moved down to the new building, but there may be some benefit to talk with Tricia soon and see if, even if we have to rent the top floor back for public health until they can get moved, maybe we get the building transferred and get that off of our plate. That might be something, if we say, if we can get it arranged by July 1st, then they get that building and they can start handling it. And if we need to rent back space because we need some more time to get public health transitioned over to the new building, then we
Yeah.
can do that.
Krista isn't gonna move all her documents.
Right. It might take, I mean, they have money in their budget for rent. They pay back to the county right now, so that we would just use that money to pay community action in the meantime until we can get it moved. And that might be something, because I don't want to hold up for months and months, John trying to do 3 buildings. If we want to get rid of that one and they're ready to take it, why don't we just get to that point?
Well, my budget, let's see what I'm getting. Electric bill now, the gas bill, so that's eating away on what I got.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, but right now his budget is paying for 3 buildings
Yeah.
when we're only really budgeted for 2. So.
well, I would be in agreement if we are gonna move ahead with letting go of the Smith building, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So.
But I think it might be
Probably
good.
need to sit down and talk with community action about details sooner than later.
I guess that's coming up today.
I'm sorry,
Is that happening today?
today at 1 o'clock,
You and who?
and Mark, she requested us to come,
Great.
so we're meeting.
So maybe we'll have a report next week and we'll see
Report next week.
and just to let her know that it seems like the consensus is if we can get the transfer done, we could even rent back that top floor in the meantime until we can get things moved, because that's not gonna be an easy project. So.
All right,
Thank you,
I
John.
guess go ahead and advertise for both of them then. We'll see what.
Sooner than later, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Done.
Anything else?
Guys?
If John wants to.
There was another one you're talking about.
Well, I know Krista's here,
I'll
but
see you after we get out.
The rest, I put the miscellaneous at the end, so you can take this as long as you need it. There's nobody else waiting.
well, Krista, Board of Health has to make the decisions regarding any cuts in her department.
Right, and so I can speak with where we know that we want to stand at this point in time.
we do have one nurse and one home care aide and one homemaker. So we need a second nurse and we need a second home care aide. Those would be both full-time positions. So in our budget, as we shared before, we've had 4 full-time nurses. It's been hard to attract those people for a variety of reasons. And so, we still have to take care of 19,000 people in the county. It is not just the clients that we have. It is the entire county that we have to be responsive to, whether it's a phone call or seeing them or whatever. So there's a big difference between our client caseload and the county. So we need to, again, minimum of 2 nurses, 2 home care aides, and our homemaker. That helps us to be able to service the people so that we can bring in additional revenues. Okay, so we feel that's still very important. Obviously, if we get really busy, we want to be able to come back and say, okay, we're really busy. We need to have some additional assistance. But then there's some revenue that we do to help offset that. So that's where we feel that we need to be positioned at. It just helps us a little bit better. Again, like you just referenced with John and even our Veterans Commission people, Veterans Good, Mary and Faith, to have that backup. There are vacations, people do get sick. There are times when, of course, an entire office can get sick. You don't want that to happen. And so we just need to have that flexibility there. And the caseload is already there.
You said it was 1 nurse and 1, what was the other?
Home care aide.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had it.
And you're advertising for those now, or?
We have not yet advertised for the home care aide. We have advertised for nursing here locally. It's a sign already posted. We found that sometimes our local advertising just doesn't have a big enough pull. And so we really need to expand that outreach. We did send notices to the schools of nursing, Minnesota, Wisconsin, here locally, and even down into Cedar Rapids, Waterloo area, just for a different pull. You know, we work daytime hours. That's a big pull for some people who have families who maybe don't want to do nights, they don't want to do evenings. And so that can be kind of a nice little perk. But once again, in talking with some of our younger populations, they want money, they don't care about the benefits. They would prefer to go out and buy their own health insurance. So it's a different environment in which we're having to pull people from. So it just makes for some uniqueness.
We had a Board of Health meeting last week.
We did. Again, truly because we only have 1 of each, we have collectively talked what happens then. And we don't have a good answer for that. Because when you don't see people, that means lost revenue. And certainly we don't want that to happen. It means people end up going without services. That's not right. Work that we do, it's important to keep people at home, so.
There's definitely been a lot of conversation in the public worry they're going to lose services from public health.
Correct.
That's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
So there've been, I'll just bring it up because I know some of the board members have asked, not that I'm advocating for this or not, but have you looked into working with the Gunderson Clinic or the hospital to contract more services since you don't have enough people to do them all now? Is that even possible, or?
That's kind of a very foreign concept. That is really unheard of. And so I'm not sure how that really flushes out when some agency has to own that client. Okay. You can't have 2 different agencies owning one client and everything else can be provided. That doesn't work. Payers see that as big red flags, and that really kind of screams fraud.
Are we required by state public health to be doing all of the services that we do?
Public health, yes, we are.
Including,
But we do also do home health, which is different.
are we required to be doing home health?
We're not required to do home health. However, what you do is public health agencies that do public health services, and then they do home health to help pay for some of those public health services.
Does the income from home health exceed the expenditure of the staffing and expenses that go with it?
It depends on what you have for cases as far as clients, as well as the number of staff. All of that comes into play, and so you're really kind of there's not a good answer for that.
So historically, can you look back and say that we provide home health care and it cost X and our reimbursement was Y?
So I can tell you that for FY22, it cost with the county tax dollars that were used, excuse me, FY23. For the county tax dollars that were used, it was $25.32 a person in the county. That's what it cost. You don't take tax dollars and divide it by the number of clients. You take it by the 19,974 people in the county.
Right, but if we're not required to be doing that and all the taxpayers are paying the difference, you know, we've gone back to the numbers of 140,000 expense average in our surrounding counties that are using outside services versus our difference of approximately 600,000. So we need to have an answer to be able to explain to the public why we have such a big gap in finance cost between us and our neighbors. So that's an issue. I did reach out to Senator Clemish to ask him to find out from Public Health and from ISAC where our full responsibilities are, and he is expecting to report back next week to the Board of Supervisors. And we'll ask to be put on the agenda to bring us an update, both of the general session update plus what he's found out from the General Counsel of ISAC plus Public Health. And that's being an ongoing thing this week.
You know, in the latest issue of the NACO newsletter that we received last week or week before, whenever it was, the aging, our population is aging, and the services needed in the coming 20, 30 years are going to be significantly higher. So I think that it would be in the best interest of all of us to start advocating for more state dollars to support the care that these communities are going to need. Decorah is going to have a lot more influx of older people. We already are. And I don't want to start talking about cutting services just because we don't have to do them. I think that it is to create a beloved community, we can take care of our people. We take care of our most vulnerable people. And I think that needs to be part of this discussion as we go forward.
So with the public health funds that are allocated, we're not able to really use those to take care of aging people. Okay, it's not supposed to be used to take care of people in their homes. So you have to have other agencies in place that will do that. Everybody's maxed out. They don't have workers. I did call a couple of agencies here in the past couple of weeks because I get phone calls still. Hey, can you help us out with this? No. Let me see if I've got somebody else that can. There isn't anybody else. They are full to capacity. And yes, we are aging. It's an aging society. We've talked about this before, that the medical schools haven't put out enough physicians. Nursing schools haven't put out enough nurses. That is because of lack of faculty, right? And so when you take a look at us historically, with the county tax dollars that we have used, it's anywhere from 15 all the way up to 25. And where we're at so far this current fiscal year is $20.41 a person. That's pretty darn efficient and effective for those county dollars. I did take a look at another county that is getting more than us. It's part of your 6 county group that you've taken a look at, $48 per person. You will not find out what the hospitals are actually using when it comes for public health because they are tax levying entities. You're not going to get that information. We've been through this before. The fact is that these people do need these services. We don't have enough people to fill the needs. And it's distressing because where are these people supposed to go? They cannot go to nursing homes, and nursing homes don't even have the staff.
Well, Health and Human Services at the conference made a point of, and we just all laughed in the audience, well, they could just be taking care of it at home more. Well, they don't have people. They don't have that support net.
That's one thing, like, I told Krista that some of her clients have actually come to me with concerns that they believe it's gonna come to an end.
And our nursing homes are closing.
And actually at the $20 or $25 per year. Isn't too bad.
But we're not serving, we're not doing home health care for every person in the county though. We're doing it for 30, we're doing it for 39 of them.
39
You
human
can't, you
beings.
can't figure that's, no.
And if I had more staff, I would be able to provide services to more of those clients.
You gotta figure them 39 clients is what the home health care aides are furnishing.
But those 39
Yeah.
people are people, they're human.
I know, but you can't, yeah.
One thing I heard Krista say, and I think it leads back to something Shirley said, that the agencies that provide home health use that to offset their costs for public health portion, because the state funding of the public health portion is not enough in any county. Is that true?
Correct, because we have to use those funds for public health services. So it's the phone calls that we get with people having radon questions, or it's the stop the bleed classes, it's our sharps removal that we have. Those are services that anybody can utilize.
About something that's been brought up is immunization type clinics. And there's several other entities that do immunizations in my family always goes to public health, but that doesn't mean we couldn't go to our the clinic where we have our doctor, or we could go to one of the pharmacies in town. Is that something that you're required to do, or is that something that could be parsed out to other clinics, or how does that work?
That is a complicated question, but I'm gonna try to tear it apart for you.
Okay.
Right? So we do have what we call an I-4 or an immunization grant. And that does pay for childhood immunizations. There's also a component in there in the past for pandemic influenza. And so we've been able to use our time, nurse time, to enter all of those immunizations into the immunization registry, so that when you do go to the doctor, they can look up and see that, oh, Ben and his family have had immunizations. And this is what they've got, or they still need this, all right? But it also pays for our time to administer those vaccinations at the agency, all right?
Does that grant cover?
That is a grant.
Does that cover it fully, or is that something
It
that?
also pays for immunization audits. So we're required to go and do the school and the childcare audits every single year. That's a lot of work. Can't say exactly how many hours off the top of my head, but I know it accounts for at least a full week's work. Does it cover everything? Sometimes, sometimes not. Kind of depends on how busy your clinics are. So obviously, if we're not busy with childhood immunizations under that Vaccine for Children program that's free, then we don't account for that time, all right? But what about flu clinics coming in? Well, people come to us because we're more readily accessible, right? So we have taken a look in our budget. We've been told there is a company out there that we could actually buy our vaccines from. Actually, it wouldn't cost us anything. We would receive money for doing the administration fee. We're looking into that. That is something that's brand new. We've not heard of it before. So it's not that everything is just a done deal. We're trying to explore what are our other options. Vaccines are not allowed to be billed under the immunization grant. That's private. And so you see that as a biologicals in your budget worksheets. So we're able to whittle some of that stuff down too. And if we're limited to the 2 nurses, the 2 home trades, the 1 homemaker, when I did some very brief calculations, so our expenditure would go from 1.2 down to 850,000. That's pretty significant, folks.
And how much revenue lost?
I didn't even look. Correct. There is that too.
Yeah.
Didn't even do that because there's an impact there.
And then with the education on vaccinations too, how do you measure that monetary value? We've got an anti-vax movement afoot, and that's very expensive if something goes through.
Correct. And it's, you know, you say if something goes through, it's when.
When something-
Measles will
Yeah.
hit the state of Iowa.
Yep.
We
Yep.
just don't know when. All 99 counties are saying, please not us first.
Right.
Seriously, we are. Yes, we'll get some help from the state, but they're gonna be busy with a lot of things too. And we'll be gonna be boots on the ground working. The Board of Health will be meeting probably daily for some of that. Some of you will be pulled into some of those meetings, and you'll sit in the corner and you're just going to say, yeah, this is the problem.
So bottom line, if I can recap, right now, you need at least the 2 full-time people, even though you're budgeted for 2 more nurses and 3.5 home care, whatever it is. And so right now you're down to 1 and 1, and you need to get at least 1 more of each.
Correct. Correct.
Just to be able to run the facility.
Correct.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think a healthy, educated society is how we can move ahead and maintain and move ahead as a community.
Well, and
And so unless we can figure out
I, for one,
how are we gonna pick, if we're gonna cut something, how are we gonna make sure nobody's getting left behind before we do any of that? I think the same thing, you gotta have backup. Your 2 essential positions need to have 2 people with that, so I. think
Yes,
it's-
if you look at the new building and moving in there, will you at least initially just go with the minimum staff, or will you try to plan out for the whole, if you ever get full staff again? And I mean, you've been working with these guys to figure that out.
Yeah, we've been planning that. So that's always been in the back of my mind.
and I'd be working with all of us. Is that, that's a weekly update on that building and how it's gonna be laid out.
We're never gonna be able to meet all the needs. Mark, we don't meet all the needs on roads. We don't meet all the needs. We got too many budget constraints. So we'll do as much of a level as we can, but we're never gonna get there. But if we're not required to do it, then I don't see how the taxpayers are gonna come along with that.
Well, how many potholes are acceptable in a road? I mean,
We have-
people aren't
we have-
necessarily dying because there's a pothole, but they are dying because they're not getting health care.
All right, we're getting a little
Yeah.
off target here. Thanks, Krista, and I guess we'll probably have the conversation again.
A question. This whole discussion has been focused on the most vulnerable, veterans who served our country, folks who need health care. What effort is this board doing for looking up to the governor, to the legislature for funding? This is the reason you're focusing on the most vulnerable, is get to that governor. Get that Mr. Clemish to tell you if he voted for this foolhardy act that made so little funds available to the county. Now, I want to hear the answer to that.
He'll be here next week to give a legislative update.
Great, I'll be
Okay.
right here and ask that same question.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll move on. Thank you. Miscellaneous, rural waste collection program continuation and changes. We need a great place to start, I believe, for saving money.
So I think I passed out, you have the budget, it should look like this, I put copies in your box. And then you had this that I passed out last week from Scott, that are costs that aren't not in this budget, but that he's taking care of as far as the hauling, which turns out about 20,000.
That's the one. Is this outside what we're paying on these locations for the pickup and delivery of?
Right, right. So when we had a couple of haulers, and there was one hauler that we phased out, the ones that did was Kendallville and Ridgeway, some of the western county ones, and those are the ones that rural or that recycling is hauling. We still have haulers for some of the other sites that were paying contract haulers.
On the current expenditures, we had reliable dumpster and this go around of 3105 for Lufton, Locust, and W42 on those three. And that's a monthly charge?
Yeah, and it varies. It's
Right.
based on how many.
Tons.
Yes, well, no, this is just, this is the hauling. Yeah, that's the hauling, how many dumpsters they have to. The tipping fees are billed from the landfill to the county, and so we pay those separately. And so, yeah, you can see on there, and we have 1.5 employees, that's 66,000 of the budget, but you get down here to these 85,000, and that's your hauling and tipping fees. I mean, that's your biggest chunk of this,
Of the road waste.
of the rural waste. Yeah. And if you're like me, where I'm taking it myself to the landfill, I pay my own tipping fee. And if you're in town and have a contract person, you pay them monthly for your, or even a rural person who lives on one of the main roads can get a private collector to do it. It's,
Many roads.
and then you pay them to pick it up and tip it. And so we have a program that's only benefiting some people that everyone's paying for. So
We had one person in Bluffton say, well, we go together up there in town and get our own dumpster. We don't mind paying our own garbage fees.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because we
A
all
lot of
love them.
options. But but over $200,000 is a lot of money for a few people.
Roughly, probably. He said around 500, but he doesn't know how many of them maybe use it twice a week or, so it'd be hard to put in.
it's about 500 total stops at the dumpster, but some of them might be the same people.
Same person twice every week, so.
And it's $200,000 when you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's $400, so,
User.
and I don't think they want to pay $400 to use it.
Well, part of that
No.
too is some people are throwing a couple bags of trash in there and other people are filling it up with lots of weight.
Cleaning their garage.
Yeah.
We're all of us pay fees at the landfill to clean our garages, and we're all paying for garbage collection in our homes.
Yeah.
So I would be in favor of eliminating the road waste program.
And I think it would be remiss not to mention that the program's history was that, I mean, not that I'm advocating for keeping the program.
Keep the ditches clean.
Is to keep the ditches clean. That's what the history of it was, is that it was a belief by boards in the past that started this program, that if you didn't have this program, people would go and dump their garbage in a ditch.
I would also advocate that we look into raising fine for dumping if we're gonna eliminate the program. Significantly raise it.
I know that solid waste did an investigation based on a load of garbage that was dropped. And they did follow through on it. So if we do that and set some examples of people who are doing illegal dumping, I would be all for that.
And that's the sheriff did respond when I asked him that question. He said when they did have those instances, it didn't take long until the word got out and it all stopped.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's one way to save money. I agree with you guys. This would be one of those
I'm in
ways.
favor of eliminating the program for the out of the 25 budget.
21. If you do that, is July 1, would that be the end? Is that enough?
I think that's,
I mean, you've got 1.5 employees that you should make sure you give them an opportunity to get other jobs lined up. I mean, maybe one of them wants to be the part-time custodian there. They could apply for that job. I don't think any of them are registered nurses. But you know, you don't want to like turn around and ditch it in 2 weeks, because that doesn't give them time, but.
we could turn off the electrical services at each of those locations and eliminate that expense of the the meter that we pay for all year long.
So do you want to make an official action that come July 1st, you're going to phase off this program? I think right now TJ is technically employed by the landfill board, but he manages this program for you at the board. So if you want to say we're gonna phase this out July 1, we would let him do the notifications to the people we rent land from and the dumpster, right, or the,
I think it's that quick time. I move that we,
and I don't know if we have a contract with like Reliable Dumpster that we have to give a certain,
Wait a week on this, 1 or 2 weeks, so that if anybody wants to come and say anything, TJ or people who use rural waste.
I think we should at least find out if, I mean, it may be that we have a contract with Reliable Dumpster that we're going to be paying them for 60 days or something, or,
Yeah.
and then we need to find out some of those details out.
put it back on next week's agenda.
I mean, see if we can get
1 or 2
DJs.
weeks from now, I think it would be better.
But also have TJ look into what our contract.
Maybe we can just have TJ
Um,
come to the meeting so we can.
Yeah, when we do it,
He's here in the morning anyway, so if we put him on quickly on the agenda.
he won't be here in 2 weeks. He'll be gone.
mhm.
And maybe I'll just let them know that you want to move forward with phasing out this program and what he sees as a good timeline. I mean, maybe it continues through the summer, but then
Yeah.
it quits or something. Okay, I'll get him on the agenda and we'll.
And that's could be an opportunity for growth of a private enterprise to be able to do garbage collection for neighbors or something.
Expansion of rural routes that are already there.
Right.
We are competing with three entities by doing it. Hawkeye, Malcolm, and Shimmick.
Yeah, I think that idea with the Bluffton, people just go together.
Yeah, that worked. I mean,
To me, you could get, a lot of people could use it, you're getting a full size dumpster out there.
so if you got all the residents in Bluffton, put it.
If the local people know how to do it, they can do it.
They get a dumpster.
Next up, draft lease. I3A.
I put this on the agenda, not knowing if we would have a response yet.
Yeah, I haven't.
I don't think we've heard it.
Wait till Andy's back.
Yeah, I think this just has to move to next week because we don't.
Review budget amendment requests.
Okay. We have some handouts, of course. First one I'm going to give you is the kind of the quick breakdown of copies. And then how it looked in the newspaper when you divide it into the Department of Management categories, just like our original budget. And I'll review these each department by department, just so you know what's going on. And then if you have any of these that you question or want more answers, the public hearing isn't until Tuesday, the 28th, but we could get a department head in here next week or something if you needed more answers on them, although I think they're mostly self-explanatory. So a few of them are the departments probably may not even know the details of the fact that they're having a budget amendment because they're health insurance related. So as you know, this started a couple of years ago where we started doing where the board is paying a portion of the family plan for insurance plans. And I have to make a guess each year based on history of how many are going to be family plans. And so like for your department, the board of supervisors, there was someone who had a family plan midway through the year. So we had to come up with more money to pay that family plan insurance. So that was, and it's not very much, but that's what that is. The sheriff's department, that is all, so these are the, you see them divided by the fund, those are all family plan insurance. They had a significant increase in the number of employees, both in the jail and in the deputy side that moved from single plans to family plans. So that's the whole amount is in health insurance lines for the sheriff's department as well. Recorder, similar situation, it was a health insurance update. So those are pretty straightforward. You don't really have much choice in amending those or not. So they're part of your health insurance program. And I based the budget we just passed a couple weeks ago on the current year, so I tried to update those that I knew about, but next year we may end up with a few more that we have to amend through the year. For the road department, you can see there, the net difference, oh, and I didn't subtract off the, I got an Excel error there. There should be a minus 300. So it comes, the net difference is the 600,000 added for, oh no, I know what this is. So the 300,000, sorry, the 600,000 is the W-14 money. The 300,000 in rural services is the additional money that you were funding him for roadside maintenance. You had told him actually 250,000 when you did it, and that's what we're shooting for. But if he has equipment that can be delivered in June, rather than waiting till July, I told him we'd get a little extra in there and we'd basically borrow against the next year's amount. But that's, so 300,000 is the roadside maintenance part, and then 600,000 is the W-14. He has a whole bunch of changes. Almost every category is changing, but it's moving money around within the budget, except for that W-14 project is the new amount. So it is 900,000 net, but like we said, there's 600, he's adding 600,000, and I'm also adding it in the general fund, so there, we aren't spending it twice, but we're putting it in the budget amendment twice so that you have the flexibility to take it where you want between now and June when we have to make that decision. So it looks worse on the paper because you've got it in there twice, that 600,000. But that gives you the flexibility to take it out of either account. Conservation, the first one in the general basic, that is simply, she has the grant from the landfill for education for recycling. And that was the leftover money at the end of last fiscal year that she hadn't spent. So it's to be able to add it in. We're adding it back in now. So that's actually grant money. We talked about if there was a way to add it in ahead of time, but not knowing the exact amount till the end of June, it's easier to just amend it in each year. So that was the leftover amount in the general fund. When you see the miscellaneous funds in her account, those are REAP or other grant monies that are grants or donations that are coming in. So those miscellaneous funds are kind of out of, not part of your property taxes. And the one in the general basic is property tax money, but it's actually leftover money that didn't get spent last year. So it isn't new expense. Public health has, there's some big numbers there. They're actually negative in the end because of they have a big grant. It's actually a 6-year grant for
Emergency preparedness.
there you go. So they're getting a big grant money in. They're spending some of it this year, but it'll probably be spread out over the next about 5 years in additional to this one. So that's where their changes were basically. IT may not need it because of when the new person might start, but the new IT person, if we get one, it's going to be funded through Sean's department, but that's starting July 1. He didn't have it in the current year budget. So we're just shifting a little bit of money out of the equipment lines that John thought he didn't know into the salary and benefits lines in case the person starts yet in June, and then we have money to pay him out of that budget. So it's a net zero because it's moving within the department. Yeah, but we're making it available there. So if the person does start yet in June, that we have it available. So the miscellaneous county, that's the big one. That's where most of your unplanned things, these are non-departmental things. So I'll kind of go through these one at a time. We had $3,800 for Upper Explorer Land. It was the EDA planning grant. It was, I don't know that program, those of you on the board could explain it, but it was included in their budget request for FY '25, but in FY '24, the board approved the payment, even though it wasn't part of the initial budget request. So we've already paid them that $3,800 for that program, but it wasn't in their initial budget request. 10,000 I'm adding in for labor relations services line. That would be money we're paying the HR firm. We've already paid them some for the work they've done on the employee handbook, but we'll probably have some more bills to them before the end of the year. So it may not take the full 10,000, but I added it there just so we would have enough. I added $6,500 was everybody's favorite property tax legislation for those notices we had to mail out. Good news on that, I'll take a time out from the budget amendment stuff, is they did make some changes at the end of the legislative session to change the timeline of those notices and the examples of those notices. So hopefully next year it'll allow better timing for when those notices get mailed out. There were people who didn't receive the notice till the afternoon, a few hours after you held the public hearing this year, just because the timeline was so short. So they bumped it up. They should be able to go out about 5 days earlier next year. So that should help with that. And
Everyone I talked to said, oh, that confusing.
yeah, it was confusing, and the examples,
But I didn't understand.
yeah. The examples they used didn't make any sense either, so hopefully what they changed will help with that. I mean, they didn't give any relief for the counties as far as the tightening down the levying authority, but they did at least fix that part of the bill. So 250,000 added in for the purchase of the building that we had to pay the down payment this year. So that was added in. There's the American Rescue Plan dollars is actually a sub fund of the general fund. So we track that money separately, but it's reported to the state under the general fund. I've added in case all of the projects that are remaining, which total about 400,000, if they all get done yet by the end of June, I wanted to make sure the money's in there. I mean, the Festina sewer might get done by the end of June. I doubt those water retention structures through conservation out on the Trout Run area are going to get done before June, but just in case they do, we aren't going to spend more than's in the fund, but I want to make sure that it's there to spend by the end of June if they happen to all get done. $19,142 for the Borough pumps. So that wasn't something that wasn't in the original budget. And then the 600,000 for the W-14 deposit. So it's in there twice. So those were the big ones in the miscellaneous county, the non-departmental things. Economic Development Department, this was me and fumble fingers last year when I typed this in, when I prepared the budget in January or February of 23. It was 140,000 and I put 14,000. I missed a zero.
Oh.
So it's, yeah, it's a pass through. I mean, we bill them for the exact amount that we pay out. So it isn't, we aren't losing any money. It just needs to be corrected. Yes, it needs to be corrected. So that's all me. And then
That's a first.
no, not a first. I will make mistakes. I've never claimed.
A second.
Yeah. And then in the health insurance fund, more money's been passing through. So we're adding, and it's a net zero because money's going in and out through that fund, but we manage that fund separately. That's where we put the side.
Are we getting, looks like the numbers are getting pretty low.
They are, and our new rates kick in June for July 1st. So the increase in our rates this year, all was going for those side fund payments. So hopefully that will help it some. So plus Lynn has identified some issues with we were paying claims we shouldn't have been paying. So we're working through that with Midwest Group Benefits. So people who that said that they didn't owe any money maybe did owe some money. So that's getting worked through.
It's so complicated.
Yeah.
She's been such a help for me. to
Yeah.
go through some of
So she's been working through that. Few revenue amendments. This was first one, let's go conservation. That was their extra, it was an education grant and a donation. That was some extra money that they had coming in. Public health, I mentioned that. They had some grant funds reported in. They also reduced some of their revenue for Medicare and nursing service fees. Department 48, the non-departmental, so I added the 300, the big one there is 300,000 for the sale of the Freeport property, so that was the 300,000. $500 is the first two payments on the rural pumps that they're gonna be paying us back over the next 4.5 years to pay back the half of that. And then the health insurance was just the pass-through. So those are all of those lines that I changed that add up to that. So like I said, it looks bad because it shows more, 600,000 more than what is actually gonna happen. And then some of them are, most of them are either things that were already spent or you've already approved, just were fixing them now. The one mistake I made, and then health insurance things. So there aren't anything really controversial on it, on the budget.
I have a question. I know I'm gonna get beat up probably by people on this question, but that's okay. We have a really generous healthcare package for our employees, where I'm paying $1 a month directly now. In this tight budget crunch we're in, do you think we should have a conversation in a future meeting on the agenda about raising the contribution for employees?
I will say that we are one of the lowest amount that's contributed per employee of surrounding counties.
I know that, but
So we're already doing it more efficiently than other
Yeah.
counties are doing. Because we are not paying very much towards family.
when people in the public sector who don't work for the county hear what we're paying, it's significantly lower than what teachers pay, for instance, or what anybody else in society pays for their health
I
insurance.
think the city paid zero.
I don't know, but I just,
The
you
city
know,
would count the board.
I'd rather see us ask employees to pitch in a little bit more than cut people.
And that's something you could do. I think that you added health, family benefits, you pay about 1/3 of the family plan now. You added that to help attract the
Yeah.
employees. So if you turn around and raise
Raise it.
Take away family, I'm saying.
Well, that was a major factor in contributing to how much extra did that cost us.
Yeah.
I mean,
But there's a way to recoup some of that.
I think we need to look at it. I agree with Shirley.
I would just like to see it on an agenda so we could just talk about it.
I'd asked local employers what they, what they do on health insurance, just as a couple of polls around with different fairly large size companies. And they were shocked and had no idea how much an employee of the county paid for insurance.
Yeah, and I want to keep employee contributions super low. I'm not advocating for market, what other people are doing. I just think it's okay to have the conversation.
well, it might not hurt. No.
I think that you're keeping that low helps offset salary
Yeah.
Salaries.
that you have to pay.
And attracts.
Except for young people,
Well,
they don't see it.
I still go back to the whole salaries and benefits, and I think we have a good place to work. It's just sometimes the environment we work in, people don't want to take a job potentially. And also, I also go back to other elected officials working 35 hours a week in their offices compared to the 40 hours that ours. And people can have their opinions on that, but when you're paying healthcare to people, whether they're working 35 or 40 hours a week, that's a significant drain, I guess I'll say, on the county, and that our efficiency could go up if we have less employees who are working And the assessment of our wages, as I understand, was done at, didn't look at whether it was 35 or 40, it was that here's what the position should be paid. So I think maybe at some point in time, other people internally need to look at how we can save money. And I know it's not a pleasant subject, but that's also, people are shocked when they hear what we pay for healthcare, but also that some people work 35 and some people are working 40 hours a week.
I agree with you.
So I'm not gonna take a side on that at this point.
You mean a half-hour lunch and a half-hour later?
So. Probably want to look at it, but it's something that at some point, that's one way other people, other officials can be asked to shoulder the burden of the economics of this. So.
One thing that anytime you can offer I mean, if you looked at things that you can do to help attract employees, anytime you can offer benefits that aren't salary, then you save the IFRS and FICA. So, I mean, maybe
That's a good point too.
I mean, if you think there are people that don't want the health insurance, I mean, maybe you make it more like, here's some money, the same amount of money that you can use. And those that want to take the health insurance can take it, but those that want to use it to buy less health insurance and more dental or vision or invested in retirement or something, then you give them more options, might help attract people. Doesn't save you maybe necessarily the money, but it's a benefit you can give without actually costing you more money. And make it more of a, that's the way the school does it. They say, here's the pot of money, you choose the insurance you want.
What benefits you want.
And if you don't choose benefits, you can take it in your salary, but then they're stuck paying FICA and IFRS against it. So,
More, yeah.
and it costs you more. So, I mean, I would think that if you want to do a program like that, you say it has to be spent in this. Yeah, these.
You can factor in IFRS cost of it, you can then zero.
They could also say, well, I take 2 days more on vacation than I would have if I didn't have to pay for the health insurance. One other thing, and I don't know, but if I remember right, we have to pay a few $1,000s back to the DNR for the sale of the
500 or something.
Well, I mean, it needs to be taken care of in the accounting at some point.
Well, they might work with the ones that bought it, if the grass stays there, we don't have to. Yeah, they weren't no big hurry to get the money back.
No,
They were just gonna wait to see who got it and just work with them. If they keep the grass,
is our expense or is it somebody else's? So I
mean, it's like $700.
Would be our expense.
Bins, yeah. But if they work with them and they want to just keep the program that's there, they just don't cost nothing.
Does it run for 2 more years?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
You need action on this?
No, this is for your review. If you have any of the departments you want me to call in for meeting with you between now and when that public hearing is. Last week, you took the action to set the public hearing date, and then you'll have the public hearing later in the month.
I have just one quick question, and I'm not picking on anybody, to be clear. On the sheriff's 35,000, he always budgets for that extra additional cushion. So why wouldn't that additional spending come out of that?
It's a different fund.
Okay.
So his budget that he's controlling and his cushion is in the general fund, and this was all health insurance. So it's in the supplemental fund. So maybe I could have asked him, what can we subtract out of the general to make it a net zero, but he isn't gonna just go and waste the money anyway, so he'll just turn it back in at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't think any of our departments will waste it. I just wondered how that works.
So it has to be like with John Lukey's, when I was switching for the employee, you'll see some of it I switched out of general fund because I was salary, but some of it was in the supplemental. That's if we do get a person and we need to pay health insurance, FICA, and IFRS in June, I need to switch some of it to the other fund.
Thank you.
Okay. The last thing in the miscellaneous, looks like we need a support agreement for solutions.
Yep, so Solutions provides the software and hardware that we use for all of our inter-office work with budgets. Starts with valuations in the assessor's office. They have another program that they use and do their data entry on, and then it rolls into Solutions. And then from Solutions, it goes through my office for doing budgets, and then the treasurers for tax collections and so on. Anyway, so they're our main vendor for our internal software. And so we have a support agreement with them that we've had for years. So
Wasn't Solutions part of the conversation of the 6 county meeting and the change of ownership plus the significant increase in Solutions charges?
McKee brought that up, yes.
yeah, we haven't seen as much increase in charges because we do most of our own IT work on staff. So they're contracting with Solutions
To do their IT.
to do their IT work. So they're paying, their Solutions bill is significantly higher than ours because we have our own IT staff. So we're paying, one of these is for the software agreement, which gets to be up over $100,000. I'm not saying it's cheap, but, and then one is just for $3,200, and that's for the maintenance agreement on our actual hardware or server that we have on site. Our server is getting older. It's in the 7-year-ish range, 6-7 years, and it's getting to the point where we may have to replace it. And that's a big chunk of money. I think last time it was around 50 grand to replace the server. But divided over that many years, and it isn't quite as bad. But we did look last time we replaced it, if there was a way to rent server space through the cloud somewhere, and it was more expensive. After about 3 or 4 years of renting, you've paid for a new server, and if you can get 7, 8, 9 years out of a server, it's cheaper to actually just buy it. The other advantage of having the server on site is even if our internet connection is down, we can still do some work internally. Anyway, so I'm needing agreements on both of these. I will say the Harris Computers is the company that bought Solutions. We have seen a decrease in the response time when we have issues. But they're going through a lot of transition, and actually they have a lot of new staff. I think a lot of the longtime Solutions employees thought this change in company was a time to get out. And so now they have a lot of new people there when you're having a issue, when you call that.
Yeah, it sounded at the meeting though, like it is getting better.
Yeah, yes, it is. And as those new people get more experience, it has been getting some better there. But yes, it isn't the same as it was, but we are very limited. There are 3 options for counties in Iowa. There's Solutions, which is now run by Harris, Tyler Technologies, or counties that write their own software. There's only 3 options for the software that provides county government service, the details we need. So
I was surprised how many counties don't have their own internal IT.
Right.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, that's on Al McKee's agenda this morning.
Yeah.
That didn't take long.
The Solutions they have, I think with the transition to the new company, Harris, they don't like providing the on-site IT work as much. That isn't what their goal is. Their goal is to maintain the software. And so they're raising prices on that end of it to either make it worth their money or get people to get out of it. So
Some of the best money we've spent was to bring that team in with John.
Yeah.
OCIO.
Yeah.
And get that report card. It really lit a fire. I think other counties will benefit from that.
I'd look for someone to take action on this.
I move to approve the Solutions Support Agreement, or Harris, however you need to put it in the motion.
Second.
A motion and a second for the solution support agreement. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Yeah, two things to sign, one's that software support, one's that members.
There any committee reports?
Well, we've already talked about the 6 county meeting, but, and I think that was a really well done meeting.
That was a good meeting.
Yeah. And the facility that Fayette County has, holy cow.
Do not look for a dream facility like that.
It's amazing.
Impressive.
It's amazing, truly. It was really fun to see. I've got housing committee this week with Upper Explorerland and Northeast Iowa Behavioral Health has been moved to next week. And that's it for me.
Yeah, the historic last week was, on Saturday was canceled because they called their meeting with us for the declaration as their meeting.
Oh,
So you all attended historic this month.
and I don't believe there's anything else in the community service buildings. Updates.
No, nothing.
Adjourn. I don't consider
Oh.
it.
We did that. We did consent.
Just a reminder, I'll be here for an hour or two after each Monday meeting for office hours. So if anybody wants to come in, I'd love to visit. That's it.
We have a motion for adjournment
I'll second.
and we have a discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is now adjourned.
It was fun, wasn't it? It was good.
Really good.
We stayed and talked afterwards and they had to kick us out. Yes. I think he enjoyed it. I sat and talked with him Friday night, actually, as well. It's really a lot of fun. And he knows Steve St. Clair. It was really fun. It was a good concert. He'll be back.
I like.
I like the conversation. It was really fun.
25 actually, but you take the population. It's a little.
Dan, like.
That's true. There's a lot of numbers.
Supervisors. You can ask Dan.
I took some accounting, excuse me, I was a math major.
Was it email?
But I took some accounting classes in economics.
Just forward the email. Those who go online, I'll shut it down as soon as there's less than 3 of us in the room.
I do like that. My wife is a math teacher at the high school too, so. We got a lot of math